Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Going Off Track podcast. I'm Kathryn, that's Emily, and what a day! What a weekend we have had in Baku.
And what a weekend. We told you guys, Baku's always a good weekend. Always gives us good racing.
Baku always delivers in at least some way, shape, or form it does, and in this case, it delivered a ton of very interesting things happening and one of the world's longest qualifying sessions with a record 6 red flags.
Ugh, I'm honestly surprised they even, went through with everything. It's just wild. Crazy.
Yeah, the fact that they're like, you know what, screw it. You know, a bunch of you have times and a bunch of you don't, so we're just going to pick names out of a hat, and that's going to be your top 10.
Love it. Hey, yeah. It worked out in my favor because good old Carlos landed on the podium where he belongs.
He did. It was great.
It was. First podium with Williams, which is super, super exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, go team.
Yeah, and not only that, but we're going to have another 4 years of me having to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning because they extended Baku's contract to 2030.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not mad about this one. Some of them I'm like, really? Do we need it? But I like Baku. It's a good street race. It really is. Even though it's just a box and then a circle, it provides a lot of entertainment.
A ton of entertainment, a ton of intrigue, and there was always something happening. And a lot of people said this race was boring, and yeah, there were middle parts where there wasn't a lot happening, but there was a lot that, in my opinion, could have been happening that made it interesting and worth it to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch the way through.
Yeah, no, it was worth getting up in the morning. I think I didn't think it was real. I literally thought I was dreaming when Oscar went into the wall, on the first lap. I'm like, this isn't real. I'm dreaming. Pinch, wake up. What's happening? And then seeing how, poorly he started, I was like, what is he doing? Oscar, this isn't you. It's not real life.
Yeah, that was so uncharacteristic. And I worry that with McLaren's blatant favoritism of Lando, that it's actually starting to screw with Oscar mentally. And I don't want this to be something that continues on going to Singapore, which is another really technical, very difficult track where you have to qualify well in order to perform well. And then beyond to the last few races this season, because the margins between the top, I'm going to say top 3 now, because Max is still kind of in it, even though the margins are razor thin for Max. But with the margins being so thin, there's only so much that Oscar can do to keep screwing up to open the door to Lando and Max.
Yeah, but this weekend could have been a lot worse for Oscar. If Lando got on the podium or won, it would have, nearly eliminated his lead.
If Lando overtook, if Lando could execute an overtake on a car, leaving besides the fact that there was another terrible McLaren pit stop that also did not help his case, this was definitely damage limitation for Oscar in the sense of Lando couldn't do anything. Thank goodness.
Yeah. No, it makes me a little happy to see that because I just, still want Oscar to do well.
Yeah, I as much as I would love to see Max get 5 in a row, and obviously there's still a mathematical chance, a very difficult one, but a mathematical chance, I'm still on team, it's going to be Oscar, and it should be Oscar, and if McLaren knows what's good for them, it will be Oscar. Which McLaren doesn't. McLaren doesn't know what's good for them, which is a whole other can of worms. But this race is really, I think this race is what we'll look back to and say this was a significant turning point for this season in the championship race and also in the Constructors Championship race as well. Not for P1 in the Constructors Championship, but all the other positions.
Yeah. No, there was definitely some movement, or not movement, but efforts made to change things. So
yeah, I mean, Williams got a big heap of points out of Carlos for, not only was this, Carlos's first podium with Williams, which obviously we all love. If you're listening to this, not watching this, I'm wearing my Williams t-shirt, obviously. But this is also their first podium in a real full-length race, which I forgot. I was like, I didn't know why they were trying to like clarify that every time they mentioned it on the broadcast. And then when I was looking at the actual listing of podiums for Williams, I was like, oh right, George's podium in 2021 is a Williams podium, but it was only 2 laps under the safety car. So this was the first full-length podium since 2017 with Lance Stroll of all drivers.
When that was said, I was like, I'm sorry.
Who?
One, I forgot Lance was at Williams, and 2, Lance Stroll ended up on a podium
in his rookie season.
Oh, God bless him.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And of course it was also at Baku. But I think this could also be a turning point just in general for Carlos's side of the garage at Williams. We know that he's been having difficulties and struggling in a way that Alex hasn't been. And this is his first points finish since Canada. In a Grand Prix. I don't know.
It's been a long time. I think, collectively, you and I have said Carlos generally does better the second half of the season, especially like in a new car. But that's really when he starts to thrive. And so I think it's a combination of the madness of quali and then also him just getting more comfortable with the car and having more confidence like driving the new car. But I was telling this to someone earlier, he still had to like stay up one in the points and 2 on the podium. So yes, he did drop back 1 because he qualified P2. However, he like still had to work for it, and he still drove the heck out of that Williams and beat 2 Ferraris. He beat, both McLarens, which they didn't really do
technically,
much, but
yes,
he did. And so, I'm really happy for him. I really am. I think the more that, JV really digs in, and they kept saying this on the broadcast, like, this is why they signed Carlos. Like, he's really smart and he's a really good driver. I think if they can continue to improve the car, it's going to be really good. And Albon had an off day, but that he's also good. Like, I really think in 2 years, Williams is going to be like contending.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with those 2 drivers. This is a significant moment in like James Vowell's 5-year plan for Williams, and I think that they're ahead. Like Carlos said at the very beginning of the season, he's like, don't expect podiums out of me. Well, look at him on a podium. So
I know. I think some of it has to do with the good quality, like for him, and like the unfortunate quality for everyone else. But still,
I'm gonna take it.
I will too, because how many times have we seen like a fluke in qualifying, a la like Hulkenberg and K-Mags, last year, and then they just fall because one, the car's not good and they can't stay up there. So yes, he got lucky on Saturday, but he really had to work for it on Sunday, which is really insane.
It's very similar to Isaac Hadjar in his first podium earlier this season, where he had to qualify well, and then he also had to maintain his position. It was not easy and required a little oopsie out of Lando's car in order to get him that podium. So
I'm so glad you brought that up, because you know who else qualified well on Saturday and didn't capitalize on it, or qualified good on Saturday and didn't capitalize on Sunday? That'd be Liam Lawson, because he qualified in P3 and was he on the podium?
No, but he finished P5, which considering the car,
Kathryn,
it's not a podium. It's fully not a podium, but it was still a bigger haul of points. All things considered, I do have him listed as who else impressed, because to stay in the top 5 in that car with the way his entire season has gone, that is on the better side of things, even though Carlos has a lot more experience to be able to maintain the podium, and Isaac Hadjar is just a phenom right there with Kimi Antonelli of the rookie class.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think he could have done better.
Well, I know that you just have really, really high standards for Liam Lawson. If Liam Lawson doesn't win every race, then he didn't do a good job for you.
Well, yeah, obviously. But this one is going to be hard for me. Would I have preferred Liam Lawson to be on the podium or George?
Ooh.
That's honestly a lose-lose. I think that's a lose-lose for me. But I would have loved it to be Lawson and George just like get so mad and be like, it was supposed to be us. It was supposed to be me, and just have them pout. Maybe I'd like that.
Yeah, that's why. But I mean, also the fact that George and Mercedes were able to use the strategy because they were able to successfully use the overcut on SAINZ to get George from P5 to P2. Like the fact that not only did that work, but also George has been sick all weekend. Like I read somewhere that he was the last
Suck
person
it
to
up, buddy.
he was the last person to arrive at the track on Sunday, today, race day.
Well, yeah, and he like missed media this week. Like he was not
He was
well.
unwell, and
So,
I think he
like,
said
yeah,
that on the
that's fine.
radio
We'll
too.
give him a pass. We'll give him a pass. It's fine.
Yeah, but I think it was intriguing, and there was like down the stretch there was a lot of like what is going to happen in that DRS train of what was it, Lawson, Sonoda, Lando, Lewis.
Mhm.
And that I really did enjoy, even if it ended up being those same positions by the time the race ended. Okay, I have a couple of thoughts on this, but my one quibble with the TV direction this weekend is TV direction was, I would give it a B minus, maybe a C plus. And we have complained before, and other people have complained before about the fact that like you don't get the race leader crossing the finish line because of other things happening on track. And then today we have all this intrigue going on with Lando trying to overtake Yuki and Liam to get as many points as possible. And they're moving to Max's Sunday drive through the streets of Baku 14 seconds ahead of everybody when there's this very critical battle happening here for the drivers'
It wasn't
championship.
gonna happen though. We all know it wasn't gonna happen.
It wasn't going to happen, and you're right. We knew that, but I would have preferred to put Max in the box in the timing tower and keep it on that four-way battle for whatever. Maybe that's just me, but I didn't need Max's leisurely drive through the streets. I'm saying this as the Max Red Bull fan. I didn't need that. It could have been in the quad box or in the box in the corner. Quad boxes elsewhere.
I didn't mind it, honestly. I didn't even think twice. So
the other
again, I could care less if Lando is gonna still be half a second behind Yuki for 14 more seconds. So.
Right, exactly. And the other thing that I thought was really interesting that Bernie Collins brought up, which also it was a Bernie Collins weekend, which we on the podcast we love when she's on, and she made a very interesting point about the driver order between Lawson and Yuki, because obviously Red Bull and Racing Bulls are in the Red Bull family of networks. And in the past, if there was a Red Bull behind a Toro Rosso or an AlphaTauri, the AlphaTauri would not fight very hard to let, as the Red Bull tries to make its way on by. And Bernie was like, that's not happening today. Like, we're not getting that cheeky little phone call to,
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
But my thoughts are, one, that's all alleged. It's not set in stone. And also, I think the relationship has changed post-Horner.
I agree. I fully agree. And I'm not saying that I would have preferred that. I fully did not expect for Lawson to move out of the way for a number of reasons, because Yuki and Lawson are both fighting for their lives as not just Red Bull drivers, but as Formula One drivers. But I think Laurent Mekies, the new, team principal, the new head of Red Bull, who came from Toro Rossi, AlphaTauri, V-Carb, Racing Bulls, whatever they are this week, he's not gonna pull that. He's not the type of guy to do that the way Christian Horner would like blatantly, allegedly, unofficially do. And also the point is to see how these drivers can drive as not front runners, but driving, midway through the points where they really haven't been all season. So they should let them fight. They should not, make any attempt to ease the life of the Red Bull drivers just because they're the Red Bull drivers and they're the A team and V-Carb is the B team.
Yeah, but I also think in the past, like, the fight was never between AlphaTauri and Red Bull. And, like, you can tell when when cars know who they're fighting, right, they try harder than not, right?
It's like when Carlos wasn't going after George, he was making sure that he was staying ahead of Kimi.
Right, yeah. Or even, like, you don't see Ocon trying to, like, fight Hamilton to the death when Hamilton doesn't qualify well. He knows the
Mhm.
Ferrari's better than his Haas, so he just, it's easier. And I think in the past, that's been the sort, like AlphaTauri was never competitive against a Red Bull, so like
Right.
it's just easier because that's not their fight. But right now, Red Bull isn't like that top car. Like, yes, Max is doing well, but this isn't, the car's not performing to its dominance as it normally had. So yeah, you could make the argument of the V car being a little bit more competitive, the Red Bull not being as competitive. So like those cars can fight. So like
Right.
I think whatever is said is said. It's all speculation. But I think in the past, it would be the same as, any other car letting a Red Bull through easier because they know they can't compete against it.
Right.
Like
I'm
in
not
the
saying
past.
it was a bad
No,
thing.
I
I was
know.
just saying it was
I
something
think people are
interesting
just saying
to
things.
I thought it was very interesting to note that typically you don't see a Red Bull and a Racing Bulls, you don't see them battling because the Red Bull is typically so far ahead. But it definitely makes sense. One, that Laurent Mekies is not the type of guy who would ask for that in any official or unofficial capacity. And B, we do need to see how Yuki and Liam can both maximize the car, because at this point it is so up in the air right now. We do not know who is going to be driving not just in the second Red Bull seat but both Racing Bull seats next year. We know that
Yeah.
Isaac Hadjar is going to be somewhere. We just don't know where he's going to be yet, but that's all we really know.
Yeah, I think the second Red Bull seat is just going to be like a turnstile until Max retires, honestly. Unless
I think it
doesn't
depends.
treat Max how Horner was treating Max, because like it sounds like from the outside, Max controls the setup of the car, and like that's just how it is. They build this machine for Max, and
Yeah.
no one else drives like him. So until he's done, I think things are just going to keep favoring his driving style, and unless you have someone to come in with the exact same driving style or willing to like completely change and adapt, like it really is just going to be a turnstile. And honestly, I don't think Max really cares.
No, Max is going to do his thing, and then he's going to go home to his baby and his girlfriend and his stepdaughter. Like that's what he's going to do. But I think that I wouldn't exactly write off the second seat as a turnstile quite yet, just because we're going into a new regulation. If this was in 2022 and we were having this turnstile situation, and I was like, yeah, 23, 24, 25, they're all going to, like, we're going to have a different driver next to Max every year. But I do think that it could calm things down a little bit with the quote difficulty of the second car and its drivability, just because it's a completely new car, and it's going to be a completely new car for both of those drivers, whoever that second driver may be.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I just think it's going to be hard to like get Max a teammate. If you look at how many teammates he's gone through since being at Red Bull.
Oh yeah. It's
a lot.
Been, yeah, one of them left on his own volition that he should not have done, but he just at the time could not handle being, the second driver to a young phenom, and led him to a terrible time at McLaren, and then we all know what happened next. But
well, yeah, because let's go through it, right? So you have Daniel Ricciardo, you have Alex Albon, you have Pierre Gasly.
Pierre Gasly was first, then Alex, then Checo. Yeah.
I'm just listing him. Checo, Lawson,
now Yuki.
So he's gone through 6 in like what? 4 years?
No, it's more like
5
7
years.
It's more like 7. Checo was there for 3 years, I think.
Was he really? See, that's how like much I don't pay attention to Checo.
21, 22, 23, 24. He was there for 4 years. Because it was Danny.
I swear he maxed on it too.
It felt like the last 2 years were really long, but no, it was Danny, and then for the first half of the season it was Gasly. Then Gasly got demoted, and Alex was called up from Toro Rosso, and then at the end of the season they picked up Checo from Racing Point, Force India, whatever their name was, called. Genealogy series linked above, but that. And then it was Checo for a long time, and then it was Liam for 2 races, and now it's been Yuki. And maybe with Max, beginning to light things up again, Yuki is also going to start driving like the second Red Bull driver should be driving. Remains to be seen. We have a number of races left. Lots of question marks ahead in a lot of different places.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm surprised we don't have like more confirmations for next year. I know it's because we have so many rookies and so many rookies have seats for this year.
Yeah.
And they're all on 1-year contracts. They're all going to have to like fight to stay alive. I think as of right now, there's 3 I would say that can pretty confidently say they will have a contract next year. And that's Kimi Antonelli, Isaac
George.
Hadjar. No, we're talking rookies.
Oh,
George
rookies.
isn't a rookie.
And I was just saying people with outstanding contracts in general. Kimi, Gabriel Bortoletto is the other one you're thinking of.
That's my third. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You threw me off when you said George.
I'm sorry.
I was like, wait a minute, we have to go back here. But no, I think those 3 are pretty confidently getting seats next year.
Yeah, those are not the ones I'm worried about. Gabby's already on a multi-year contract. He's the only rookie who is at the moment.
He got a 2-year contract because Alonso's his manager.
Yeah, and there was no way that Audi was going to take a driver for a year and then, break in a new driver when they're breaking in a new everything. But it'll be very interesting. I don't know why Mercedes is waiting so long for both of their drivers. And then Alpine, it looks like right now the question is, are they going to stick with Franco Colapinto for 2026, or are they going to go with Paul Aron, who was the runner-up, or he finished in the top 3 in F2 last season, and he is one of their 14,000 reserve drivers. And it will really just be a question of, does Aaron look better in TPC in testing of previous cars compared to what Colapinto is doing on track? And he managed to recover from crashing in qualifying and had a little bit more of a decent performance today. But is it going to be up to the Flavio Briatore standard? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Franco does bring a lot of money with him.
He does. That's also another thing that I don't know about.
Have Paul a lot Aaron. Of backing. And I think the money and also it being like a throwaway year for Alpine, essentially, like they're not even trying, and you can tell they're not even trying. So
yeah,
are you really going to blame a rookie for having a shit car? Like, it's hard to do that.
I mean, Jack Doohan was blamed for being a rookie in a shit car.
There was more going on with Jack Doohan than I think.
Well, no, I think the other thing is they needed any excuse to get Franco Colapinto into the car because of the splash he made last season and because of the money he brings in. So yeah, they were going to take any excuse. There was nothing Jack Doohan could have done to keep his seat other than win races, which was never going to happen in that Alpine.
Even if he would have been like in the points every single one of his 5 races, he still would have been let go.
Right.
Because that's just how it was going to go.
Yeah, which is unfortunate and terrible and awful, but whatever, it's Alpine.
Yep. All right. We've talked about everything under the sun except for really the race, but the only thing that matters is that Carlos was on the podium. So.
Yeah, Carlos was on the podium. Lando did not get nearly as many points as he needed, and McLaren had one job to finish 1-2 or 1-3 or just outscore Ferrari by 9, and they could not do any of those things, which conceivably Lando could have done on his own. He could have clinched the Constructors Championship for McLaren on his own, and there would have been no living with them at all the entire rest of the season, which also I was talking to Guesty Bestie's mother and the night before the race, and I was like, if McLaren manages a 1-2 out of this qualifying performance, there's going to be no living with them.
No.
And there wasn't, thank God.
Too God. All right, well, I guess we can jump into our predictions because we have to, but we did horribly.
We did
horribly.
I am happy that we did so bad just because, I'm happy with the way that the race panned out, even if I could never have predicted that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, so going for pole, it ended up being Max with pole, which was a Grand Slam weekend for him this weekend. So he had fastest lap. He won the race and he had pole. So this is his 6th Grand Slam, which ties him for 2nd all time with Lewis Hamilton, which is crazy that they share, titles
They
like that.
do share a lot of records
it's a lot,
together.
actually. Yeah. But anyways, you had Charles and I had Oscar, so those, obviously didn't happen.
Charles really did not this weekend, poor guy.
No, he didn't. But, sneaky Ferrari still, got points and prevented McLaren from taking constructors, so.
Correct.
Good on them. So podium was Max, George, Carlos, which we love. And you had Oscar, Charles, Lando. I had Oscar, Lando, Charles. Clearly those, again, didn't happen. And then P10, love to see it. Isaac, Hadjar. You had Bartoletto, and I had Yuki. So yeah, exciting. Isaac is still getting those sneaky points, which we love to see. Biggest surprise, Kathryn, you said Mercedes or Red Bull was going to stop McLaren from clinching. I would say that McLaren stopped themselves. But
yes.
And I said we were going to have 2 solid race weekends in a row, which I think we did.
Yeah.
And then as for who's going to do a dumb, Kathryn with the low ball of Ferrari.
I will say that they did screw up one thing when during the tail end of the race, they switched positions between Lewis and Charles, and they were going to let Lewis try to get after Lando, which did not happen at all. But then apparently there was a radio call at the very end of the final lap saying, Charles is 1.2 behind in the, I don't know if it was a reminder for Lewis to give Charles the place back, or if that was it was probably the plan all along, but they waited so late to remind Lewis to slow down that he was basically across the finish line before they told him. So oops. That was probably the worst of Lewis's side of the garage, and then Charles just crashing all over the place and not being able to overtake for beans. They started basically where they ended.
Yeah. And then shockingly and very happily surprised, the FIA did not ruin things like I was predicting, so that's exciting. We had a nice clean race. They didn't interfere. They didn't do anything wrong. Well, I do want to ask a question about rules really quickly.
Sure.
Oscar obviously got a 5-second time penalty for his jump, and then he ran into a wall, so he did not finish his race. And they were talking a little bit on the broadcast, and then I just kind of ignored it. But is that actually going to carry over to Singapore? Because he couldn't serve the penalty?
No. And thank you, motorsport.com, for being the first thing that popped up when I say Oscar Piastri Baku crash. It says... Oh, okay. In cases where there's a single 5-second penalty, which a driver is unable to serve due to retirement, the stewards will not convert that to a grid penalty for a subsequent race. However, if there is more than one penalty, the stewards may convert them to a grid penalty. So because there was only one and it happened within 5 seconds and he obviously crashed, I think that it's because it was a 5-second penalty, and it's not. So Oscar will not be on the back foot to try to recover in Singapore, which is ideal. But I just also wanted to point out that there was I guess a tree branch that was blown onto the track, and Ted Kravitz on the Sky broadcast made a joke. He's like, typically if somebody sneezes the wrong way, the stewards throw down a safety car, so they might do something. And I was like, please do not do anything to stop this race because there's a tree branch on track. And they didn't. So yeah, that was nice.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks for helping with the rules update. I was kind of thinking that after the race, I'm like, I really hope he doesn't start Singapore with
a grid drop. Yeah.
Because that would suck.
Because Singapore is going to be all about your qualifying.
Oh my gosh, I know. Of all of the races, I think it's Monaco and then Singapore, and that's when qualifying
honestly,
is the most important. So we will see. We will have Singapore out in 2 weeks, so we get another break from racing. It's kind of how this fall is going. It's race break. Yeah. But we will have Singapore in 2 weeks, which is another street race. Super exciting. It's at night. It's under the lights. We love this race. But for Baku, let's rate our race. So how are we doing this? 1 to 5, A through F.
I was going to say
Gold
A through
stars and
F.
smiley faces.
I was going to say A through F with the opportunity for like pluses and minuses so we can have a little bit of nuance.
Okay, you go first.
Okay.
What are you rating this race?
So I'm going to rate this race a B+, because we had a lot of intrigue. There was a lot of things that were happening. There was a lot of things that could have happened, but then we also had Max Verstappen 14 seconds ahead. And just because it's my driver, I can't, I'm not going to do the bias thing of give the race an A just because Max did what Max did in 2023. So I'm going to give it a B+.
Ready to give it an A+ because Carlos got on a podium. But if we're not going to put bias in this,
okay, fine. B+, A-.
Yeah, no, I think overall, racing wise, it was like a solid B for me. But you throw in Carlos getting on the podium, and I think it just elevates to an A. But it's like a 99 or an 89.9. So it like barely rounds up. But I'd say, yeah, between a B and an A- for me. Just obviously excited to see Williams on the podium. This is what JV and Alex and Carlos have been working for all season. Honestly, I'm a little sad that it wasn't Albon, just because he's been like putting in the sweat equity at Williams. I know, but I'm so happy for Carlos, and I think this just helps reaffirm his decision to go to Williams, and I think it gives him some confidence, and it's just I think hopefully we just keep going up from here. But yeah, I'd say B to A- is my range.
Yeah, I also think that now that Carlos has raced with that little unicorn sticker that little girl drew on the back of his helmet, he has to keep that sticker on the helmet. If you haven't seen it, go to the Williams social media accounts.
Well, that's what he said. Yeah, he's like, I can't race
you
without
can't
sprinkles
take
now.
Yeah, it was she was like, name this unicorn, sparkles or sprinkles, and he's like, and he's like, design a sticker and I'll put it on my helmet. And it's on the helmet, and now he has to drive with it forever because clearly it was a lot of things, but the unicorn sticker helped.
Yeah, and so this is a great segue. So this is actually my off-track moment of the week, or weekend, I should say. But yes, please go to social media. It's literally on all social media. There's the cutest little girl asks what she should name her unicorn, and then ends up drawing one. Somehow it gets to Williams, and you can there's like a great montage of him like putting it on his helmet and saying like, I'm racing with sprinkles, whatever. In the cool down room, I think it was George.
Max asked him.
Oh, it was Max, yeah. He's like, oh, you can't not race without the unicorn now. And Carlos was like, no, I think it's staying. So
yeah,
super exciting. Love that Williams, again, helmets are so strategically designed with sponsors on them, and it's just so,
especially Carlos's.
Yeah, and so I love that Williams and everyone was just super cool with him doing this for this little girl. And she was so excited seeing the reaction when she's like, sprinkles! I was like, oh my god, this is so cute. But anyways, that's my off-track moment.
Yeah. My additional,
if you need a good cry, go watch it.
Yeah. My additional off-track moment as the resident cat lady is, of course, the cats of the Baku paddock, including the one that just would not leave, even though it was evicted multiple times, and kept coming back to the paddock and hanging out at the Mercedes hospitality. And I think it was given its own paddock pass, and it's they named it Ferrari, the chief paddock officer. So love a local animal, and I think we've been missing a paddock cat since the Imola paddock cat passed away a couple of years ago. So it was nice to have some cat content going through the weekend.
There you go. Get your cat bill on TV. All right, well, like I said, Singapore is coming up in 2 weeks, and we will do our prediction episode, which will be out the Thursday before the race. That's it for Baku 2025. Thanks for going off track with us, guys.